Welcome to the Buck Brief. The three biggest accusations of stolen valor against Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Let's dive right into them because some are saying this is ruining the Kamala Harris ticket. Even more people I'm hearing are saying they think Tim Walz might not make it all the way through to Election Day. Now, I don't agree with that, but I did want to get into what the allegations are. Number one, here he is saying that he carried weapons in war.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Now, this is particularly annoying because he's not only lying, he's lying to make himself seem like he's more of a, let's be honest, badass than he is, more courageous than he was. But also he is lying in service of a terrible argument, which is that the most common rifle in usage in America, the AR-15, is a, quote, weapon of war. If he had actually served in Iraq or Afghanistan, he would have most likely been issued an M4, which is fully automatic or has a fully automatic selector switch on it. It's not an AR-15, and effectively he's using a lie to try and undermine a constitutional right and doing so as a demagogue. And that's why people are annoyed, okay? The guy is the roly-poly next-door Minnesota neighbor that oh, yeah, he's a nice guy, but he's not. He's actually a communist. This is a front. This is a facade. And that he's a veteran and a coach and a person of honor and integrity is also a facade. So once you start to pull at this, it falls apart. This is a man who thinks that BLM was a good thing and didn't do what he could have in his power to save a lot of people from having their businesses looted and burned down. This is a man who believed that it was, and still is, his job as governor to engage in racial Marxism, the redistribution of jobs, government contracts based along race lines, which, as we know, the Supreme Court, at least in the context of college admissions, has said this is just flatly unconstitutional. It's wrong, it's unethical, and it's illegal. But to say that he carried weapons in war, no, he did not. Okay, and we could even get into these distinctions. I carried weapons in a war zone. I never fired a shot in anger. I did not see combat. Everyone can understand these differences, right? But he didn't even do that. He wasn't even in an active war zone with a weapon with the expectation that if he were shot at, he would return fire and engage the enemy, or that he might have to engage the enemy offensively. He never did that, okay? So he's puffing up his military resume by even making that claim. Clearly he says it, so he's lying, and he's lying for illicit purpose, which is trying to suppress your Second Amendment rights. He should be ashamed of himself, but he is not, because he's a communist. He's a communist, so this is like what he does. This is not a surprise. Okay, we're going to get to the second biggest lie that he has told about his military record. First up, a word from our sponsor, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Amid rising tensions in Israel and following this week's direct threat of an attack from Iran, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews welcomed a flight of 155 new immigrants from France to Israel. Despite the threat of an intensifying war, this is the second such flight the fellowship has welcomed to Israel this week. This latest flight brings the number of French Jewish citizens who have arrived in Israel since October 7th to more than 1,000. The fact that Jews are still willing to go to a country under direct attack rather than live in France in fear speaks volumes to the incredible rise in unchecked anti-Semitism. IFCJ does all they can to help these new Israeli citizens. Join us in donating what you can to the IFCJ to help them meet urgent security needs. And thanks to a generous IFCJ supporter, your gift will be matched, doubling its impact. Call to make your gift right now at 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ. or go to supportifcj.org. All one word, supportifcj.org. The second biggest lie that Tim Walz has told, that he served in Afghanistan. He served in Operation Enduring Freedom. No, he did not. And this is very straightforward. Were you ever in the nation of Afghanistan during the war in a military role? If the answer is no, you did not serve in the military in Afghanistan. Again, puffing up his resume. But he's trying to say, I was in Italy, and by being in Italy, I was in support of the combat in Afghanistan. To this, I just want to say, first of all, Tim, we've all seen you. You were in support of finding the best ricotta cheese pizza, okay? Let's be honest. You were not doing anything that involved more than paperwork and maybe some, drilling or something on the parade ground. You were not in any way involved in direct support to combat. And now, to be clear, if he was flying combat missions from Italy into Afghanistan, then that is serving in combat in Operation Enduring Freedom, right? I mean, if you're entering the airspace as a combatant, okay, fine. That's a different. He didn't do that. He was just in a base in Italy. He was like, ciao, I drink my espresso and I eat a gnocchi. The gnocchi is delicious. Mario, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's going on here. So clearly that was another instance of absolute resume puffery, puffing up his resume in a way that I think people are rightly annoyed and grossed out by. You're running for public office. He's not like just some guy who said this at a bar. He's presenting this to the voters in order to make them believe him and believe in him more. So there's real stakes here. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like, people, if he was a guy and he was like 25 and he said it a little drunk at a bar, yeah, I served in Afghanistan. That's not cool. It's not okay. But he's not trying to be, in this case, the second most powerful person in the country based on the lies, right? I mean, there's like grades to the lie. There's degrees to how bad the lie really is. If he was a single guy and like, how hot is the girl you're hitting on when you're telling him the puffed up story? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's never okay. It's never okay. But to say it so that you can be not just a congressman and now a governor, but possibly the vice president of the United States, a heartbeat away from the presidency. Yeah, it's a big deal. I can understand why people have a problem with it. But it also just goes to, he is claiming to have the character of a combat veteran so that people will trust him. And what we know about him is that he actually is a man of very little character. He's somebody who does not believe in the difference between right and wrong. He's somebody who thinks that 12-year-olds should have gender surgery or gender drugs, and created Minnesota as a safe haven for gender transitions. I mean, this is a terrible thing that he's done, policy-wise. Terrible thing that he's done. But he pretends to be normal. He puts tampons in the boys' bathroom in schools. People are calling him Tampon Tim. I mean, it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. But this is his ideology. He's a communist wrapped in the exterior of a cuddly Midwestern dad and veteran that you can trust. And that's what I find so gross about it, is that all the things that you would think of a good salt of the earth Midwestern dad, this guy is opposed to. Okay? He's a commie. But that's how they play this game. I'm launching a newsletter. It's going to be weekly. It's exciting. And I'm partnering with Wide Moat Research and Brad Thomas to do it. We're going to be bringing you the best political insights, but also economic insights, talking about the markets and where things are going, tying the politics into that. I think it's going to be really exciting. And I want you to sign up. It is totally free to do so. Sorry, my cold is still getting the best of me. You can go to theurgentmessage.com. That's theurgentmessage.com. Sign up for this free weekly newsletter. Please, I hope a lot of you sign up so that they can say, wow, look at all the people who love this newsletter, because we're putting a lot of work into it. Go to theurgentmessage.com, and I think you'll really get a lot out of it. And there'll be other newsletter opportunities, or other newsletters that you can also subscribe to. So go to theurgentmessage.com, sign up today. Me, Brad Thomas, Wide Moat Research, politics, economics, the markets, Amazing stuff coming your way. Go sign up today. All right. And the third worst part of Tampon Tim's stolen valor accusations, is that he left his guys behind. This is the one that my friend Sean Parnell came on the radio show and just absolutely tore Walz apart on. That he was the highest non-commissioned officer for his battalion, and he must have known that they were going to get deployed. I mean, it's impossible he couldn't have known that they were going to get deployed given what was going on. And right before he was going to be deployed, he said, adios, see you later, after 24 years. So he got to go to Italy, collected a paycheck for 24 years. And when it came time to actually be a war fighter, not only did he back off of that and run away from that, he left his people behind. And in the military, I think that's the part that is pissing off veterans more than anything else. That's the unpardonable sin, is to abandon your brothers in arms. And that's what Tim Walz did. So Democrats can say all they want about how, he's a cuddly guy and he served and all this stuff. And they can even do what Breonna Keeler over at CNN did, where she says J.D. Vance is called a combat correspondent. That is his technical title, but it makes people think that he saw combat because he's a combat correspondent. I mean, she's a moron. But they're just desperate to try to throw up anything they can to prevent people from recognizing the truth about this guy. And it is not surprising to see that that is how they operate, because the entire Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign is just based in lies, the whole thing. And that's why I'm confident Trump's going to win. Have a great weekend, everybody. Shield time.